She said it with a smile. Not the kind of smile that carries warmth or affection, but one I'd come to recognize as her polite smile. It came right after dinner. We were sitting in the living room, not watching TV, just existing in the same space. Her glass of wine hadn't been touched. I had just asked if she wanted to plan a weekend getaway, something small, something just for us. That's when she said it. "I think we should test our marriage." I blinked. "Test it?" She nodded, swirling the untouched wine like she was conducting a TED Talk. "Yeah, just a week apart. To see if we still long for each other, if we're still emotionally in sync." It wasn't said with malice, not even frustration. That's what made it strange. She wasn't upset. I gave a slow nod and asked, "Where would you go?" She already had a plan. "I thought I'd rent a place near the coast. Just for a few days. Disconnect from routines, be alone with my thoughts. Maybe journal, maybe hike." I noticed she said, "thought," not thinking. She'd already made the reservation, hadn't she? I nodded again. It felt easier than confronting the subtle deceit. "Are you okay with that?" she asked, sipping finally from the glass, eyes watching me closely, not with concern, but calculation. "Sure," I said. My voice sounded foreign to me. She left the next morning. Her departure wasn't dramatic. No long hugs, no lingering glances. She packed light, too light for a week, really. A few dresses, her favorite pair of heels, the silk robe I'd bought her last Valentine's. She didn't take her laptop, just her phone and charger, and a smug, breezy attitude like she was heading to brunch instead of exiting her marriage under the guise of self-discovery. The house felt different the moment the front door clicked shut behind her, like the walls were hollow now. I sat at the dining table for a long time after she left, staring at the faint circle left by her wine glass on the wood. Something about that little mark irritated me more than anything else. I grabbed a napkin and wiped it clean, maybe a little too forcefully. I wanted to believe she was genuine, that this test was something innocent, that she was going through something internal she hadn't figured out how to express yet, that maybe I had missed a few signs along the way, and she was just trying to find clarity. But if that was true, why did her departure feel so final? That night, I stayed up late, couldn't sleep. I found myself scrolling through old photos to see if I could pinpoint when the warmth in her eyes started fading, when the smiles became performative. Around midnight, she sent a text, "Settled in. Don't wait up for me. No good night. Not even a miss you." I stared at the message longer than I should have. The phrasing was odd. "Don't wait up for me." Like she was out at a party, not supposedly isolating for introspection. I locked the phone and set it face down on the counter. I didn't reply. The next morning, I made coffee but didn't finish it. I kept looking at the clock without realizing why. Maybe I was expecting a message. Something small. It didn't come. Instead, I got a call from my cousin Mark, someone we'd gone on a couple's retreat with last year. We hadn't spoken in a while. He was breezy, casual, but then paused midway through the conversation. "Hey, just out of curiosity, your wife's not with you?" "No," I said slowly. "She's on a personal trip." I'm funny. I could have sworn I saw her last night at the Oceanside Mariner. You know, that boutique hotel by the pier? I was there for a corporate dinner. I paused. "Are you sure?" He hesitated. "Fairly." It was dark, and I didn't go up to her. She was with someone. A guy. He said it casually, almost apologetically, like he wanted to let me down gently. I thanked him, hung up, and sat there in silence. So much for hiking and journaling. I didn't jump to conclusions. But my stomach had that heavy, sinking weight that settles in when your gut knows the truth, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. I pulled out my laptop, opened the browser, and started typing. If she wanted to explore life outside our marriage, then I had every right to explore what life looked like beyond waiting for her to return. And that was only day one. There's a difference between suspicion and knowing. Suspecting something feels like a slow leak in your confidence, a drip you try to ignore. But once you know, there's a strange kind of stillness. The kind you get in a room that was once crowded and suddenly empties. I opened our shared financial portal. We had set up linked accounts years ago, back when transparency felt like love. I wasn't looking for scandal, I wanted context. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe Mark was mistaken. There wasn't. 3 new transactions had posted, all from the day before. A dinner charge at a seafood bistro, Oceanside Grill. Then a spa reservation, 2 massages, same room, noted under her name. And finally, the one that made me sit back and exhale through my nose. A luxury suite booking at the very hotel Mark mentioned. Check-in confirmed. 2 nights paid up front. She told me she was going to a wellness retreat. This wasn't wellness. It was a getaway, and she wasn't alone. I stared at the screen, fingers hovering over the trackpad. A more reactive version of me might have driven to the hotel, barged into the room, demanded an explanation, made a scene. But that man, the one who acted before thinking, he died somewhere between the words, "Test our marriage," and "Don't wait up." I went to the bedroom closet. I pulled out a small box from the back corner, old keepsakes, photos, trinkets from our travels. Things that once meant continuity. I closed the box and set it aside. If she ever came back, I didn't want her to find these where she left them. Around noon, I checked her social media, not her main profile, but the one she used more selectively. A photo had just gone up on her close friend's story on Instagram, not shared with me. But she forgot one thing. Her cloud account was still synced to her family tablet. That story, meant for someone else's eyes, flickered into my view within seconds of being posted. She was sitting poolside, cocktail in hand, toes dipped into turquoise water. A man sat across from her, shirtless, back turned to the camera. His drink mirrored hers. His hand was reaching out casually, familiarly toward hers. I stared at that photo long enough for the screen to dim. My heart didn't race. My breathing didn't stutter. I didn't cry. I just accepted it. It was oddly freeing, seeing the truth displayed so unapologetically. The mask had dropped. Whatever part of her had still pretended to be working on us was gone. I closed the tablet and walked out to the balcony. The air felt cleaner than it had in days. That's when I called Martin. Martin wasn't just a friend. He was a fixer. Not in the Hollywood sense, but in the practical, deeply competent way. Estate planning attorney. Someone who knew how to move quietly and thoroughly when relationships reached their expiration date. "Tell me what's happening," he said after I barely said hello. I told him. I didn't whine. I just laid out the facts. Her week-long solo retreat, the charges, the man, the Instagram post. His silence on the other end wasn't surprise, it was calculation. "You want to stay married?" he asked bluntly. I paused, then answered with more certainty than I expected. "No. I want out. But not messily. I want to move, not flinch. I can start things in motion," he said. "We'll draft an exit that respects your dignity and protects what you've built." That phrase stayed with me, protect what you've built. Because I had built this life. Not just the home or the finances, but the rhythm of our marriage, flawed though it was. I had been the one who showed up, who stayed. She had chosen distraction. Now I was choosing direction. After that call, I took a walk. Nothing remarkable, just through our neighborhood, where couples passed me holding hands, and dogs barked at nothing. It felt like walking through someone else's life. It was more like standing on the edge of a road I hadn't meant to take, finally understanding it led somewhere better. When I returned home, I went room to room, evaluating what was truly mine and what had just been shared space. Her art on the walls, the photos of us on vacation, the books we bought together but never read. Some things I boxed up for storage. Others I left untouched. I wasn't erasing her. I was reclaiming myself. That night, she texted again. "Thinking about you. Hope you're doing okay." This time has really helped me reflect. I didn't answer. A few minutes later, another message. "I hope this week reminds us why we chose each other. I'm looking forward to reconnecting." She was writing to the man she thought I still was, the quiet, accommodating version of me who waited in doorways and forgave betrayals disguised as experiments. But that man was gone. He'd seen too much. I spent the evening going through legal files Martin had already emailed. Drafts, asset sheets, agreements. All spelled out in clean, unemotional language. Somewhere between dreams, I pictured her poolside again, laughing, thinking she still held the power to choose how this played out. And that realization, that growing understanding that I wasn't going to wait, was already changing everything. Day 2 is done, and the clock was no longer ticking for me. It was ticking for her. The next few days passed with the surreal calm of a man who had already crossed a line he couldn't, and wouldn't, step back over. She had no idea I had already untethered from the dock, letting the current take me somewhere she could no longer follow. Her absence didn't feel like a wound. It felt like a reset. On day 3, I visited the bank in person. I'd already started moving my direct deposits into a new personal account, one that didn't have her name listed anywhere. I also revised the access permissions on the joint savings. It was now frozen pending legal mediation, something Martin had quickly orchestrated, not without me. That afternoon, I returned home to a voicemail from the storage unit company. I had secured a space that morning. Medium-sized, climate-controlled, month-to-month rental. It would hold everything she had left behind. clothes, personal items, framed photos she never bothered to hang properly, and those decorative pillows she always insisted we needed but never used. I started boxing her belongings without hesitation, not as punishment, but with efficiency. Every shirt folded neatly, every shoe paired and bagged. I even labeled the boxes: bedroom, closet, office. There would be no confusion when she picked them up. No chance for her to manipulate the logistics into an emotional minefield. I wouldn't give her that opportunity. Her texts became stranger by the day. By midweek, she shifted tone entirely. Gone was the cryptic, distant language. Now she sounded playful. One message read, "Remember that cafe in the city where you spilled coffee on your shirt before our first anniversary dinner? Just walked past a place that smells exactly like it." I read it twice and left it unanswered. Then came a photo of a sunset over the water, her feet propped up on a lounge chair, painted toes in the frame. The caption read, "Ending today with gratitude and perspective. Hope you're doing the same." I wasn't. I was ending my day organizing financial disclosures and finalizing the timeline Martin had laid out. The paperwork would be filed the moment she returned. The house wasn't waiting for her anymore. The door might still open, but she wouldn't recognize what was inside. On day 4, I dropped her storage key at her sister's place, a neutral zone she couldn't turn into a battleground. Her sister opened the door with the tired eyes of someone who had always known this was coming. "I'm guessing you don't want me to say anything," she said. "Just let her know where it is," I replied. She nodded. "You sure you're okay?" "I'm clearer than I've ever been." And I was. There was no more doubt. No more wondering if I had overreacted or misread the signs. The messages, the absence, all of it had been her choice. I wasn't tearing anything down. I was simply refusing to live in a house she had already abandoned emotionally. By that evening, the house looked neutral. My things remained, the essentials. The warmth was gone, yes, but so was the imbalance. That night, she tried calling. For the first time all week. I let it ring. She didn't leave a voicemail. Minutes later, a new message appeared. "Hey. I know I've been a little distant. I just needed to clear my head. But I miss you. A lot. I think this time apart has reminded me how much we mean to each other." Another text followed within seconds. "I want to talk. When I get back. I think we can make things better. Let's start over." I stared at the screen for a long moment. There was no anger in me, no temptation to reply. I wasn't curious about what she would say next. Her words felt like echoes bouncing off a wall she didn't know I had already torn down. Later that night, I met someone for dinner. Elena, a colleague from a previous consulting project. We hadn't spoken in nearly a year. She reached out the same day I had changed my relationship status on a professional network. Said she always admired my stability, my loyalty. Funny how the traits one woman takes for granted, another can see as rare. We didn't talk about my wife. I didn't bring it up. Not out of secrecy, but because I didn't want her shadow hanging over the table. Elena was sharp, kind, and fully present. It was just dinner. Just conversation. But it was the first time in years I didn't feel like I had to edit myself to keep someone else comfortable. Meanwhile, my wife, as soon-to-be ex, was still posting stories. I saw the latest the next morning, day 5. A picture of a breakfast tray, croissants, fresh fruit, a mimosa. Her hand, delicately holding a piece of melon with a man's leg partially visible beside hers. She hadn't even noticed the reflection in the glass behind them, 2 bodies, close, laughing. And still, she texted, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. I've got ideas for how we can reconnect. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised." She had no idea. Tomorrow, she would return. But she wouldn't be coming home. She arrived home just after noon, sunlight streaming through the blinds as if mocking her optimism. I didn't pace the hallway or rehearse what I might say. I simply sat at the kitchen table, sipping coffee from a mug she used to claim was too plain for her tastes. The house was calm. Every trace of the emotional storm I'd weathered over the last week had been swept clean. The door opened slowly. I heard the soft creak of the hinges, her footsteps tentative on the hardwood. Maybe she expected me to rush to her. Instead, she stepped into a house that no longer made space for fantasy. "Hey," she called out, her voice lilting with hesitation. "I'm back." I didn't answer immediately. I heard her set down her bag, expensive, a recent addition I didn't recall approving on any shared budget. A few more steps, and she stood at the edge of the kitchen. She looked surprised to see me sitting so still, so composed. "You look different," she said. "I am," I replied. She smiled, uncertain. "I thought about you a lot. This week gave you perspective." I nodded. Me too. There was a pause. She scanned the room, subtly noticing the missing pictures, the empty spaces on the shelves where her things once were. Her eyes darted to the hallway, where the coat rack stood bare. No scarf, no purse hook waiting for her. Just a clean wall and silence. I was thinking we could talk, she said. Not everything made sense to me until I got some distance. I realized I might have been avoiding things. I didn't interrupt. Let her say what she rehearsed. She looked like someone delivering a speech they weren't entirely sure about anymore. I know it wasn't fair, the way I left, but I needed time alone to remember who we were, to miss you. She reached out as if she expected me to take her hand. Instead, I slid the envelope across the table. She froze, hands suspended in midair. What's this? Everything, I said. The storage address, the itemized list of what's yours. Legal paperwork. A draft agreement. You'll find my signature already on it. Her smile fractured. I don't understand. Yes, I said evenly. You do. She opened the envelope with shaking fingers. Her eyes scanned the pages, and color drained from her face. A line or two in, she stopped. You're ending it? I stood up. You ended it when you left. You just assumed I'd be here waiting for your return. That wasn't what this was. Her voice rose, desperation slipping through. It was just space, a pause to reconnect. I tilted my head slightly. Is that what you told him? She went still, like someone had flipped a switch inside her. I saw the charges. The hotel. The dinners. The man's reflection in your stories. Don't insult both of us by pretending this was a silent retreat. Her mouth opened, then closed. No words came out. Her practice lines didn't cover this scenario. I made one promise to myself this week, I said. I wouldn't raise my voice. I wouldn't do anything out of bitterness. Just honesty. Decisiveness. She moved to sit down. I shook my head. Don't. This isn't a negotiation. But we have years together. History. We have a record, I corrected. Not a bond. Not anymore. She clenched the envelope in her hand, crushing it slightly. You're really doing this? I already did. There was a long pause. Her face shifted through expressions, confusion, regret, and finally, a flicker of fear. Where am I supposed to go? Your things are in storage. The lease on that unit is prepaid for 2 months. After that, it's yours to manage. I meant, tonight? I just got back. I arranged for a rideshare to pick you up in 15 minutes. It's waiting outside. You planned this? She asked, a touch of horror in her voice. I accepted the truth and moved forward, I said. There's a difference. For the first time since she walked in, she looked genuinely lost. Her gaze dropped to the table, then to the floor, as if trying to anchor herself to something familiar. But everything in this space had changed. You could have told me, given me a chance. You had a chance, I said. Before the lies. Before you turned marriage into a social experiment. Her lips quivered. It wasn't all fake. Not everything. Then it should have meant something before you threw it into a petri dish to see what would grow. I walked past her. There was nothing left to salvage. At the door, I turned back once, not out of doubt, but respect for what we used to be. I won't stop you from healing, but I won't be part of it. She didn't respond. As I stepped outside, the car pulled into view. I handed the driver her name. She'll be out shortly, I said. And then I walked down the street, not hurried, not looking back. She had gone searching for distance. And by the time she came back, I was already somewhere else entirely. She never called the next day, not even a message. It was the quietest she had ever been. Maybe she thought silence would punish me. I was full of something better, certainty. Not spite, just the steady calm of a man who had finally reclaimed his self-worth. By the end of the week, I'd changed the locks not out of anger, but completion. The legal filings were submitted, and the preliminary separation agreement had already been acknowledged by her attorney. Everything now lived on paper. Neat, objective, impersonal. She tried once, 3 days later. A single line in a text. Are you really going through with this? I read it during a walk through the park, the breeze pressing against my face like a reminder that the world kept moving, even when someone tried to pause it. That evening, I met with Martin one last time. He handed me the finalized documents. You moved fast, he said with a nod. She made it easy. I answered, signing the last page. I didn't know exactly where she was now. Maybe staying with a friend, maybe the man from the hotel. Because I wanted her to finally sit in the stillness she had once asked for, not as a test, but as a truth. 2 weeks passed before I saw her again. We crossed paths at a mutual friends gathering, something she clearly hadn't expected me to attend. She walked in wearing her usual armor, high heels, flawless makeup. But the moment she spotted me across the room, something in her cracked. Just for a second. She didn't approach me, just stood near the door, speaking to no one, trying not to fidget. I didn't go to her either. Elena was with me. We weren't a couple, not yet. But she had become a familiar, comforting presence. Someone who didn't need me to play a role or perform emotional acrobatics just to be accepted. She laughed freely, asked real questions, and listened with her whole face. A rare kind of ease surrounded her, one I didn't realize I'd missed until I found it again. At one point during the night, I caught my ex-wife watching us. Her eyes held something unfamiliar, something between longing and disbelief. But that life was gone. As the evening wound down, she finally made her move. "Can we talk?" she asked softly, as I passed her on my way to the coat rack. I paused. "There's nothing left to talk about." She shifted closer, lowering her voice. "I made a mistake." I nodded. "I know. Don't you want to understand why I did what I did?" "No," I said calmly, "because I finally understand why I stayed as long as I did." And that answer was harder to swallow. Her lips parted slightly, as if forming a defense, but nothing came out. "I hope you find what you're looking for," I added, "but it won't be in the rearview mirror." I left her there, near the door, holding a glass of untouched wine, alone in a room filled with people. She looked smaller than I remembered. Weeks turned into months. She tried once more, an email this time, long apologetic, littered with reflections about love, fear, and pressure. I read it only once, and then archived it. There was no need to delete it. It simply didn't matter anymore. The home we once shared now felt entirely mine. I rearranged the furniture, repainted the guest room, donated all the decor she'd insisted was vital to our aesthetic. I breathed differently in the space now. Elena and I began seeing more of each other, not as a rebound, but as something light and unforced. We'd meet for coffee, walk aimlessly through bookstores, cook meals that didn't require agreement over wine pairings. She never pried into the past. She didn't need to. I was no longer carrying it. I saw my ex-wife one final time in the most unexpected place, a community event at the local arts center. She was standing beside a new man, laughing too loudly, gesturing with the same flair she used when trying to impress people. Her eyes darted across the room until they landed on me. This time, there was no surprise in her expression, just the weight of understanding. I offered a polite nod, nothing more. I moved, and somewhere between her departure and her return, I became the man I used to be, only stronger, quieter, and no longer looking backward. Sometimes the best things aren't taken from you. They're given away, and all you have to do is let them go. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.